It's going to be so fascinating to see how everything falls into place once we are underway. So let's dive right into the Dolphins. Cooper, Wayne Bennett, arguably the biggest, most important signing that the new franchise has made. We know that Wayne Bennett history and record speaks for itself. But what can he deliver, and will the Dolphins have a debut season that they can be proud of?
I think they will ultimately. I think, Wayne's coaching ability can cross over from rugby league. He can coach any sport because he coaches discipline, he coaches effort, he coaches team camaraderie, and if he builds that culture within the Dolphins, you're going to win a lot of games of football based on that. Wayne isn't necessarily an X's and O type coach, so I worry about the points. You think about Wayne historically when he's had a good premiership winning team, defensively strong, camaraderie through the roof, but they've had gun players, Alf, Lockyer, at South, Latrell and Cody to score points. Now, the Dolphins don't have that. I saw Sean O'Sullivan played okay in the pre-season, but I think they'll be okay. I think discipline, defence, effort will get them somewhere close to the 8, finishing probably around 11 or 10 for me.
Who do we need to keep our eyes peeled for? Because obviously when we're looking at gains and losses, Dolphins have gained an entire squad. So this is something that we haven't seen for a long, long time in the NRL. All new faces, all coming together. How do you make that culture? How do you make it all work? And who do we need to keep an eye out for?
Well, I think I'm exactly in agreement with Cooper. At the moment, the Dolphins are trying to build long term, so they get their foundations in place. So they've got a coach that builds foundations extremely well, and that is the defensive structures and the connection. Wayne does that. He's got experience there in amongst his forward pack, as good as you could possibly get. The Bromwich brothers, Felice Kafusi, that have been in great systems. Mark Nichols, tradesman-like, but been in a great system at South Sydney. So they've got some foundation players there that can leave a legacy long after they leave. But they need an X factor, and that X factor for me is Isaiah Katoa, the young kid who played for Tonga in the World Cup, only a young man, was an absolute star from Barker College, playing on the rugby scene and also dominating the lower grades for Penrith. A wonderful young talent, and I think given what we saw in the trials, there's a lot of pressure on Anthony Milford early just to even hold his spot with Katoa breathing down his neck.
So you think Sean O'Sullivan's 7?
Absolutely,
and what do you think about Milford and Katoa? What would you go with?
Knowing Wayne, I think he'll go with Milford early. I think he'll let Katoa find his feet playing reserve grade, and I think he'll try and back his coaching and get the best out of Anthony Milford. I'm not sure he can find it, but I think knowing Wayne, he loves a story like that, where he can grab hold of a player that's been out of form or struggling, and reignite their love for the game and get them to produce. And, you look back to when Anthony played his best footy, and that was under Wayne.
Oh, in 2015, he was unbelievable. The sub-story to Isaiah Katoa is that Christian Wolff is obviously very well across what he can do. He was the Tongan coach for the World Cup. Katoa was finishing his HSC, actually had to finish it on tour. So he is still so young. I think he's about 19. The world at his feet, and obviously a big future there for the Dolphins.
When you look at young players, you look for glimpses. You're not going to get the whole package of that young, experienced age, but that young kid, what he's done at the World Cup for Tonga, I saw glimpses, thought, you know what, this kid could be the 6, because Sean O'Sullivan's a steady hand. He could direct the Dolphins around the field and allow that young kid to develop. So, I think watch that space, who plays 6 for the Dolphins.
Now, Fox Sports Lab has gone in and looked at all of our teams for the year. The lab is back by popular demand.
The lab's Nick, by the way.
Nick.
Do not attach me to the lab.
It's just Mick at home on his computer. So, Mick, on your computer, you've come up with the prediction of the Dolphins finishing 9th. Now, that's really difficult because
West
we don't...
Tigers fans will be filthy.
Well,
that's their position.
Well, the lab has them finishing last, but obviously there's some caveats around it, because obviously the West Tigers look completely different. They, no, they didn't have Api Coruscant, and they didn't have all the John Bateman and all those recruits. So for the Dolphins to finish 9th, that's what the lab has come up with its metrics. Let's put a human interpretation on it. Where do you see the Dolphins?
So I think probably it's around that mark. I'm going to say 11th for a number. I think they'll win a lot of games through Wayne Bennett. I think what Wayne builds in a team doesn't necessarily apply to rugby league itself applies to all sports. You want to get a team committed to each other, playing for one another, not letting down the guy next to you. That will win you football games. I don't know if they've got star power and points to beat some of the best teams in our comp, but I see them having a better year than most people expect.
Yeah, I had them at 10th, so I'll win their fans over. He had them at 11.
Well, it's your lab, remember, it's your computer.
Fins up, Mick, fins up.
I really like the look of, what Wayne's been able to assemble in a short period of time. Yes, they didn't get the Cameron Munster and, the Harry Grant and the big name that they were looking for, but they've got some really good foundation players. And, I think a bit of excitement coming through. I hope Katoa gets plenty of time. But, I think I'm with Cooper. I think they'll trouble a few sides and I think they'll finish just outside the 8.
Well, let's stay in the Sunshine State for now. And, of course, the Broncos. Now, the way they buckled and surrendered the back end of the season still concerns a lot of the fans. There was really no explanation as to why that withered on the vine so badly. So they do know that they have Reece Walsh back. He looked sensational through the trials. He did pick up that slight injury. Cooper, could Reece Walsh be the firepower that they're looking for? And when you sit back and look at the Broncos, where did it all go wrong? And how does Kevy put all that aside now?
I think ultimately that's the decision for the Broncos. If they can work out what happened in their last 7 rounds, I think they could play finals. But if they don't address what happened then, because you remember after 19 rounds, they were 4th.
Yeah.
Defending well, very passionate, very energetic, and Adam Reynolds controlling things with Ezra Mam. I like the fact they got Staggs on the right, Farnworth on the left. They can go both sides of the footy. Walsh out the back is a creative spark. But if they can't work out what happened that last sort of 6 or 7 weeks, then I think it'll be the same inconsistent year. But I think the Broncos are in a really delicate spot. They need to start well. They've got a really tough start to the season. But, I think they're going to be fighting like they did last year. If they can hold on to the back end, maybe finals are a part for the future, maybe.
Yeah, lost 5 of their last 6 and confidence looked completely shot at the end of the year. So it's going to be fascinating to see how Kevin Walters turns that around. No major signings really other than Reece Walsh, who looked tremendous in that first trial, but's picked up that jaw injury. We don't know if he'll start the season. Kevy needs a huge turnaround in terms of attitude. I felt like they took some real shortcuts at the back end of the year. Adam Reynolds is their key, 32 years of age, a premiership winner. When he was on the field, he made a huge difference last year for them. But I've still got concerns over, their key position in terms of their dummy half. Touches the ball more than any. At the moment, they're relying on Billy Walters and Corey Pakes, who are, solid players, really solid players. But I still have them around 7th or 8th. I think they'll play finals, but I'm not sure they're ready to win a competition yet.
Hard to gauge accurately with what they did last year because, to be fair and out of respect, I didn't have them in my 8 last year.
Yeah.
But then after 19 rounds, sitting in 4th, I'm going, who am I to judge?
That performance against Parramatta, round 19, was electric. And we went, OK, well, here we go. And then it just fell in a hole badly.
So it's there. The ingredients are there. The recipes are all there. Star players, young, athletic. It's really up to Kevin Walters to galvanise that group and solidify their spot in the 8.
Well, the Fox Sports Lab has a strength of schedule. Now, the higher the number, the tougher the schedule. So the Brisbane Broncos have the hardest strength of schedule and no tougher task to kick off a premiership year. Panthers in Penrith, round 1.
Yeah, they play Panthers and the Cowboys.
Yeah, that's right. So, I mean, this is evident. The Brisbane Broncos are playing last year's top 8 14 times and the top 4 7 times. So in contrast, Canberra have the easiest run. But, I mean, that's when you're looking at trying to get some consistency and connectedness, you don't need to be running up against the best in the competition week in, week out.
Yeah, I sort of don't buy into that theory. I know there's tougher schedules than others, but if you want to win this competition, you play anyone, anywhere, under any conditions. Yes, there's going to be strengths of rosters and schedules, but ultimately it's up to the Brisbane Broncos where they want to play finals.